that I can't remember the exact language in that amendment, but suffice it to say it's my opinion that the language would have made it more difficult for the department to inform the public about goings-on in the legislature. Have we resolved that, Tony or Mr. Director, on how we can inform the public without inflaming issues? And inflaming is somebody's opinion, in my mind.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, that was an extension of a dialogue that began a year ago. In the discussion that we engaged in, we made it clear that we would not solicit people to advocate one way or the other on behalf of legislation. That's the Commission, the commitment that we gave a year ago. And we've adhered to that commitment, and that's the same commitment that continues now. So essentially, to use House Bill 2072 as an example, we can put information on the web that indicates that the status, if it's back in front of people. We can indicate to people what the effect is. Essentially, our commitment is we will not ask for a call to arms as a state agency and lobby on behalf of a position. We will inform, but we do not ask people to call their legislators and take a stance one way or the other. We encourage everybody to participate in the political process and the legislative process if they have an opinion, and we leave it that neutral, that generic.
And that you're comfortable with?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Houston.
I think what the public is asking, what kind of a response they could see subsequent to that. And I would assume that if we go through right now and say that, Tony, if in fact you do see any kind of legs on new language, that we have a telephonic immediately and take a position, and that position then becomes a press release that the Commission has just taken a position on strike all whatever. And that's what the public can expect. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Houston, yes, that's part of our informing the public.
Yes.
We can
and that's fair.
Take that position.
I think that's real fair.
I think it's more fair the minute we know we're going to have a telephonic that the department email that we're having a telephonic, especially if it's less than 24 hours notice, because it's an emergency. In the chair and vice chair's minds, it meets the criteria of an emergency meeting, and that we are calling an emergency meeting for this topic. I think it would be our duty to inform the public that we're having an emergency meeting the moment we were having one.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, we inform as soon as possible of any of our public meetings. Open meeting law requires, in all but emergency circumstances, 24 hours of notification at a minimum. We virtually always exceed that. If there's an emergency need and there's less than 24 hours available, we will notify the public as soon as is absolutely practical.
All right. Gentlemen, any more questions for Mr. Johnson? Mr. Johnson? Thank you, Tony.
Thanks. Thank you, Tony. Because I didn't have a teleprompter, I did miss one thing that I wanted to say to you. With respect to public records laws and accountability and a shadow group to manage wildlife, I've tried real hard to understand the position of the people pushing this bill, and I've emailed and I've called people, as I said. I've asked a number of questions of the contact for Arizona Sportsmen for Wildlife, Ms. Gilstrap. I asked a while back, how many individual members do they have? Not members who are members of participating groups, but individual members who have signed up because they support them. I never received a response. If I would ask a question like that of the Game and Fish Department as a public records request, I would get a response. I ask, this goes back to something that you had the discussion with Mr. Taylor about business plan and use of revenues and so on. I sent an email to the chair of Arizona Sportsmen for Wildlife, Mr. Alan Hamberlin, and I sent it to Jim Hamberlin, not Alan Hamberlin, Jim Hamberlin, asking did they have an analysis of their estimate of the tag proceeds from this sale broken down individually by auction tags, raffle tags, and by species. I have not received a